This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Oh, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend that is Joe Schad. You are in Indianapolis, correct?
Yeah, Big O. I decided to get a head start and fly in last night so that I wouldn't have to get up too early this morning. I'm not an early riser. I cannot take the 6:30 a.m. flights.
Not an early riser. So does that mean you stay up late at night? Is that you're one of those dudes too?
No, I'm like 80 years old. I try to get a ton of sleep.
Oh, wow. You're one of those. Okay, I see. As you can tell, I get none.
Yeah, honestly, I try to sleep. I try to go to sleep at 12 a.m. and get up at, if possible, at like 8:30.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. If I had 6 hours, that's like a lot for me. That's like I hibernated practically if I slept for 6 hours, man. All right, so I have a hard time believing a lot of stuff that comes out of this website. So it's up, I'll leave it to you. Your thoughts on the whole Sean Payton story and Tom Brady story that came out. How much of that do you believe?
Well, on Sean Payton, it makes all the sense in the world that the Dolphins would check in to see if Sean Payton, who is a star coach, had an interest in coaching in Miami, and whether or not the Saints would actually let him go at a reasonable price, a couple of twos, a one. I don't think that the Dolphins would be in a position to go crazy and offer multiple ones or something. So that is not a stunning report. I certainly don't believe that Tom Brady was likely at any point to play quarterback for the Miami Dolphins this season. But would he have an interest in potentially joining the ownership group? Sure, why not? He clearly enjoys South Florida. His wife enjoys South Florida. It's certainly possible. Stephen Ross wanted Tom Brady, obviously, to be his quarterback because of the star factor. But to play quarterback for the Dolphins, I don't think at this point.
Yeah, no, and to me, Sean Payton why would he come here to coach Brady for a year? And then what? So if he would come here, it's to coach Tua, because if you coach Breeze, then you figure, okay, you can figure out Tua and do the right things and build the right way around him, No,
he wasn't coming. He wasn't coming to coach Tua. If he was coming, it was for an elite, established, proven quarterback. He was tired of dealing with Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian and those guys. If and when he coaches again, it'll obviously be at a place that has a proven elite Pro Bowl type quarterback. I don't think you would have come here to coach Tua. Well,
that's your opinion because you've given up on Tua. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's my opinion. If Sean Payton were to have come to the Dolphins, that you would have wanted a veteran like Tom Brady. That is true. That is my opinion.
Yeah, see, I would have thought the other way around. I think he would have wanted a young quarterback so he doesn't have that problem a year from now. That would make no sense for him to come here. Plus, you got to put all the pieces together within a season, an off season, because it's not like you have years to build. You got to try to build and win it right away. And that would be a tall order for the Dolphins, considering you have to give up cap space to sign Brady, and you got to give up picks in order to acquire Sean Payton, which would hurt your rebuild also. That's why, to me, that story from the get-go just –
listen, if the Dolphins were to add –
it's a BS story. It's a BS story you throw out there that you can't prove or unprove. And in the end, nobody's going to care enough to prove it or unprove it anyway. So it'll be out there, it'll be a headline, and then it'll be a talking point like we are doing, and then it'll go away.
Well, I mean, at some point, Sean Payton will probably say on some podcast or something that, it was true, the Dolphins expressed interest. I mean, and then So that'll probably be confirmed. I mean, but okay. I mean, the Dolphins may have expressed interest in other coaches who were not realistic, but they were at least checking in on. But listen, the Dolphins are not that far away if they were to add a quarterback like a Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. That would change the entire complexion of the organization. All of a sudden, you would be like, all right, what running back do we add? What 2 or 3 veteran offensive linemen do we add?
Oh no! Wait a minute. That's not what you. No, that's not what you just said. You said if they add the quarterback, then they're right there. Then you added linemen and you added running back, and that's not what you said. See, that's not that. That's a complete team. I could turn it around on you and say, well, if you had the lineman, you had the running back, and you had another wide receiver and a middle linebacker, I also think Tua can win. You know what I mean? The piece. It's funny how you're judging Tua. You've passed your judgment on Tua, yet you want to acquire a franchise quarterback. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. You want to acquire a franchise quarterback, and you want to give the franchise quarterback what Tua doesn't have in order to succeed. It's freaking hilarious.
Even the biggest Tua supporter, and it may be you,
maybe,
would have a hard time explaining that Tua Tagovailoa would at this point in time provide the Dolphins the type of championship opportunity that a Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers would. I mean, even you.
Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers die right here on this team right now. Die. Dead in the water. With no line, no running game, no coaching, no second receiver. They'll die just like everybody else.
Well, it doesn't matter if Reed's
what do you win? Maybe an extra game? Maybe you get into the playoffs, right?
It doesn't matter who the Dolphins quarterback is. They're going to add 2 or more offensive linemen, 1 or more receivers, 1 or more running backs. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. The Dolphins plan to add to their offense. They plan to augment their offense. They plan to bolster their offense. Listen, I'm fine with the plan to give Tua 2022 and see if he can live up to the expectations, if he can recapture some of the magic that we saw at Alabama. That is an interesting storyline to me. I am interested to see how that plays out. I am enthusiastic, positive, open-minded about watching that story unfold.
Okay. I'm not sure about the open-mindedness, but all right, we'll let you.
A lot of guys get a clean slate. The new offensive line coach, Applebaum, nice guy.
Yeah. Yes.
He told me that Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg,
okay,
all these guys, all right. Solomon Kinley, what they get is a clean slate, a fresh set of eyes, and that is enthusiastic for me. That is positive. I like this, some enthusiasm about this spring and summer. I'm excited to visit with Mike McDaniel, to hear what he has to say here in Indianapolis, to talk to some of the young receivers that they might be able to add, a USC kid, an Arkansas kid, that there's a Penn State kid. There are some good ones. There's a lot of receivers. When you do your fantasy football draft and there's always receivers. You look at your waiver wire and there's always receivers. There's always guys that have had 1,000-yard seasons. Wow, they're available. Wow, because receivers are not that hard to find. And the Dolphins should get a couple in this draft because there's a lot of them. Not just a few really good ones, a lot of good receivers.
No, I'm with you there. Now, where you're at, one of the businesses of the week will be free agents. And obviously, whether you want to admit it or not, there's tampering going on, and everybody's trying to find out, what does your player want? What is he looking for this offseason?
Just don't do it on a yacht.
So what are the hot names in free agency that you might be tracking down here?
Well, I have a list that I posted earlier in the offseason on the Palm Beach Post website. There's 20, 25 free agents that the Dolphins should consider. I'll have to pull that list up. The number one guy I remember was Teron Armstead. Now, he's the left tackle for the New Orleans Saints. Now, I know that you have concerns about his injury history.
Yeah, I
But
love him.
can't
He's
you
a
draw a
great player.
parallel between
Great
him and a guy like Brandon Albert? Remember when the Dolphins got Brandon
player. Yeah.
Albert sort of later in his career? You know, how do you perceive the Dolphins' addition of Brandon Albert? He was eventually replaced by Laramie Tunsil.
Solid. It was solid. The problem with Brandon was that he couldn't stay healthy, and that's where I would walk the fine line with Teron Armstead, because how much do you pay him? Do you pay him elite money, like based on his talent, or do you say, well, we have to have some reservations here because he does have a problem staying healthy? The guy can't play a whole season, ever, never, ever, ever, ever. Hell of a player, but that has to have some kind of a discount. And if it doesn't come with a discount and you're paying full rate, then I think you made a bad deal with Teron Armstead, because he's unreliable. His body is unreliable, not his play, his body.
The Dolphins need to secure at least one solid veteran tackle. Here are some of the guys I would look into. Teron Armstead, he's 30. Orlando Brown, he's 25, probably staying in Kansas
He's not going
City.
anywhere.
Trent Brown is 28. He can play right tackle, but then you got to probably use Eichenberg / Jackson at left tackle, unless you move Eichenberg to guard. Morgan Moses, 30. Cam Robinson, 26, has been up and down. And then we mentioned this on a previous broadcast, Big O. Short-term, 1-year Band-Aid type options that I think the Dolphins would consider. Dwayne Brown, 36. Eric Fisher, 31. No problem with adding an Eric Fisher, with the idea that you hope he starts most of the games this year, or that he's somehow beaten out by an Austin Jackson or Liam Eichenberg. But one of those guys that I just mentioned, it would be very, very disappointing if the Dolphins add none of them. Very disappointing. They can't just.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. You're totally right, and I think they will, Joe. I think they're going to add 2 veteran linemen to this group, because it needs an injection of leadership, of experience. Those young cats need a couple of established guys that they can lean on. You know what I mean? And they need 2 guys that become anchors of that line. And for me, it starts at center. I would go Ryan Jensen would be my number 1 priority if I'm the Miami Dolphins. I think that's what Tua needs more than anything else. He needs the middle of that line to be absolutely ironclad. And I think with Robert Hunt and you add a Jensen, then you got to just figure out that left guard. If you can do that, I think that's the most important thing for Tua, is that pocket never crumbles. So you've got to be rock solid in the middle.
When you look at the offensive tackles that Chris Grier has added in recent years through free agency, they're sort of like athletic, raw, developmental projects who maybe have underperformed against their draft status. Like, it's fine to invite a guy like that to camp, but that can't be the guy that you're leaning on to start. The plan for this year, to give Tua a fair chance to help him, as you have stated, is the plan, not you, the Dolphins.
No, I'm just proud of you that you actually said fair. I'm really proud of you there. That's when people have like problems like alcohol or gambling or something, they got to address it, and they got to make themselves aware of it and say, I've got an issue. So the fact that you said fair, you addressed your problem, I love it. Go ahead.
I have 2 itis. Actually, I have always tried to be fair. That's kind of like, that's my shtick. Some guys have these like bombastic, explosive, polarizing debates and this and that, where you have to take one side and dig in. And I've actually tried not to do that. I've tried to be fair, but to be fair to Tua, let's go ahead and add an offensive tackle who has proven that he can at least be average in the NFL. At least a proven NFL
he got one that
player.
was really good when he got it early in Tunsil. It just, he got a deal he couldn't, refuse. And by the way, who's to say Tunsil doesn't make it back? I mean, are you tracking down Tunsil's agent while you're there in Indianapolis? Because I would. That's for damn sure.
The Dolphins had a choice. They could have extended Laramie Tunsil. Let's not forget that piece of the equation. It wasn't just that they got an offer they couldn't refuse. They chose to trade him instead of keeping him. And so that leads me to believe that, in my educated opinion, that he is unlikely, unfortunately, to return.
Oh, I disagree with you. I think he could return. It's just they had to trade him because there was too many picks. You can't just,
We don't ever have to trade anybody. Why they could have extended him? Big O, they chose not to extend him. Why? Why? Because they didn't think it was a good choice.
Because you're Chris Greer, and then you've got the coach in the middle. Oh, he'll take Stills. Good. Get rid of Stills. He's a bum. I had to play Jay-Z music in front of everybody. So it was a complicated situation, dude. Now he doesn't have that parrot in his head and his ear talking to him constantly like Joe Philbin would, because Joe Philbin's punk ass would walk into that personnel room every other day and say, I can't coach that guy. I can't coach that guy. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. And it got to a point where the personnel department goes, hey, Joe, you got to coach some of these. We can't trade everybody. We can't cut everybody. So that's where I think.
So you think Brian Flores wanted Laramie Tunsil traded?
No, I think he was fine with the trade because he's the New England thing. Oh, let's not spend that kind of money. And yeah, no, trade him. We got all those picks, and they could shake Stills and all that stuff. So I think it egged it on. And I think Chris Greer said, hell yeah, I got to take this trade because it's so many picks. We'll turn those picks into, a better team. You know what I mean? But again, when you've got that guy in your ear, and that's why I think that McDaniel now will work out a little better, because McDaniel will make a suggestion, not a demand. That's the difference. They allowed Gase and Flores to have the power to make a demand. And that's where they contractually screwed up with those guys. That's not the case here with this guy.
When I watched Travis Winfield's interview with Chris Greer and Brian Flores, McDaniel is clearly a humble guy and a self-deprecating guy. And, I think that should mesh well with Chris Greer.
Yeah, and you could tell that he deferred to him on the personnel side. You can tell in that interview, like, all the way he was, and by the way, great answer by him on the whole relationship thing. He goes, well, he hired me. That line that McDaniel used to Winfield. I thought that was good. I'm happy for you guys, man, and ladies out there that are on the beat. They actually, you guys actually get like a human being to cover now, and you get to talk to assistant coaches that will actually be able to talk. And it was so frustrating to watch you guys ask people questions, and in their heads they're trying to design the answer for you so they don't get in trouble, and they try not to say anything whatsoever. I mean,
I remember going into the last preseason game last year, asking some assistant coaches like which young guys they were looking forward to getting to watch, and they wouldn't give like specific names. And the reason is I heard that they were told that other teams might read the players that they compliment and then try to claim them and add them to their roster. I guess the point is there was a lot of paranoia.
Yeah,
there was a lot of paranoia.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that's going to be better this year.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to have that. You're going to have a human being. All right, good stuff. What are you working on the Palm Beach Post so folks can check you out while you're at the Combine?
Yeah, I did a list.
Coverage.
I did a list of players that I think the Dolphins need to scout here at the Combine. Check it out on the Palm Beach Post website. We got receivers and we got offensive tackles. There's a couple of offensive tackles. This dude Penning from Northern Iowa, if somehow the Dolphins could get their hands on him, probably not. He's probably not going to be available. But there's a few smaller school guys and certainly a few receivers and even a center if you were to slip. I know you're big on the center. Definitely.
All right, hit Nikki Blaine's. All right, we'll talk to you later on the week. Well, we'll talk to you on Saturday, actually, while we're at the Tom Van Dyke sighting at Caneswear. So that's going to be a fun Saturday. Joe, have fun out there, my brother. You got it.
Good. Stay cool.
There you go. The great Joe Schad. No, he stays cool. He's in Indianapolis.
is the Big O Show.